Hey, it's Matt with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Thursday. It's September 18th. This will be our chart lesson for the day, and this is going to wrap up our week. No chart lessons on Fridays, so most of you are aware of that by now, but I always like to mention it just simply because we have new people dropping in from time to time, and then next thing you know, they're emailing me wanting to know why there was no chart lessons. So you'll hear me say it just about every week. No chart lessons on Fridays. So anyway, that's just to give me a break. So it takes an hour and a half to 2 hours to do this every day. So a lot more goes into it than you might think. But 5 days a week for 20 plus years is starting to get old. So eventually I just went to 4 days a week. And I try to get out of here early on Friday. So anyway, that's the reason for the no chart lessons on Friday. But quick look at our daily chart here. You can see that the rally continued here. We made new contract highs again today. We did back off the highs. We're getting really into overbought territory. Again, the trend channel line's way up here, so we could push on through this before it's over. We'll have to just see. But I wasn't completely surprised that we went higher yesterday. We talked about it yesterday. So we want the fact that we pulled back and tested this midline and pushed higher again. So that led me to believe we might go higher today, which is exactly what happened. So nothing's ever written in stone, but once you understand price movements and price action, it gets really easy to kind of almost know where prices are headed next. And we could continue to push higher here. There's still some room in both the channel and even though we're in overbought territory, there's still some room to the upper side there. Not much, but it's there, especially since we closed lower. So we'll see what tomorrow brings, but it really looks like a range day that closed near the highs of the range today. Um, it looks pretty bullish here, but when you look at that other chart, the 2000 tick chart, you'll see that it was just pretty much a sideways range day where prices closed higher. That's about the only way I know how to put it. So, but let's flip over there and you can take a look and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, here's our 2000 tick chart. You can see the overnight highs up here, the overnight lows down here, and most all of our trading was somewhere in between. So we got this new high mostly in the overnight. We did trade higher again after the 8:30 open, which is where this turns from gray to white, which it looks a little pinkish now because I've got the range on there. I usually fill that in pink. Don't ask me why we picked pink color. I just picked it for a different color. I used to color all these up and down micro channels too, but it just got to be too much trying to color them all, and just gives me a little more time to do all this when when I don't have to color all those channels, especially when there's a lot of micro channels like today. But you can see we trended up, trended back down, trended up, trended, and then we just kind of got into mixed trading kind of the rest of the day. So there's several trades today. A lot of there's some trades and there's some range type trades. But let's zoom on in here and we'll get started and we'll wrap this day up. 7 o'clock came as we're kind of making this third attempt to go higher here. Really a fourth if you count that one. Right in here somewhere it turned 7 o'clock on this little two-legged move here. That's tempting to enter there as a reversal type pattern. Technically, the reversal would have been here, but you can clearly see those three tests off that trend line and three attempts to go higher. So you might enter that. It's not a perfect signal bar either, so that's why I didn't mark it originally. I'm not crazy about it, but you know, if you took that trade, it was a great move. It was a little risky, but sometimes you know, the riskier trades are the ones that'll give you a move like this, and you can catch a runner, and you're done before, you know, you're done by 8 o'clock. And that's what trading's all about. If you can make that happen, that's the best of both worlds. So anyway, we move down. We get our first break of this real tight channel here. And you can see there's two swings up. So that's a hidden second entry right off a midline there. Fairly decent signal bar. It's not a perfect setup and it's not a perfect signal bar. Maybe you take that. It would have easily worked. So I marked it green. I'm not crazy about it, but maybe you take it. We run down, we make a new low for this micro channel, and of course where we headed in back to what you would think would be the trend line. And of course we do get a break here. You got a two-tiered channel working up, close outside. There's actually a second entry right there long. I don't know that I would like that trade regardless, um, but you know, you're in a little mini uptrend here, and there's a good chance we're going to at least go back to the trend line. So if you had a good signal there, maybe you take that trade. It's a little, I think it's a little risky, but anyway, but you actually get a couple of legs up to a new high here, and you get a fairly bearish bar and a triple test. So I like going short there. And again, you get another really nice move down. And that's really the only entry you get all the way down to the new low. And then it rallies out of there. Now, I didn't mark trying to pick this low. It's hard to pick a low. You can clearly see there's at least a couple of swings down there. And then you got the 2-bar matching low. So you know, if you wanted to be really aggressive and try to pick a bottom here, you might take that trade because we did have the break and we've had a couple of swings down. And we do have a new low in place. We're not back to the EMA after a big move down. So there's a possibility. I'm not crazy about it, but there's reasons to consider it. And of course, we do get a close outside here at a new high, but we don't really get a good setup on that one. And we work back down. We get a break here. We do get a higher low here. It's moved a little far, but with this having the trend channel working down and a possible reversal going on here, that's also a second entry long. So I think that trade is fine. I like that trade as a second entry. So your entry would be one tick above that bar right there. And once again, that's a huge move up. I mean, if you catch this, you probably can ride this pretty much. You know, you can at least ride it up to here. I mean, if you don't, I mean, the first break lower is right here. So if you can just ride it to there, which you should have been able to, I mean, that's 15 points basically. And so it only takes a move or two, one like there and one like there, and you know, you've made a week's worth of profit. So these are the kind of days, and of course I doubt you'd have got a runner on this one, but it's still possible. Depends on how you played it. But if you rode this all the way up, just putting your stop below each swing, you probably would have rode this all the way to here. And then you get 26 points. So the power of a runner can be impressive. So, and this looks like a spiking channel up to me. I thought we might have a two-tiered channel. It seems to fit, but it never holds. It just reverses. So we do end up trying to make another retest, but still don't. We end up in this two-tiered down channel. So anyway, unfortunately, there's not a good chance to catch this coming down. This one is tempting as a lower high, but you got to go short right into that support, and it could bounce again. So I think you have to skip that. And of course, you did get your close outside here and a few swings to a new low. So you know, it's possible you might enter right there. I'll give it a green. Again, trying to pick bottoms, tops and bottoms is very difficult for most, and you need to be more experienced to really try to do that. So I'm hesitant to mark those, but they pay off really well when you can catch them. So at some point, it does pay to learn to catch them, but you only want to take the real obvious ones. And you're going to have some losers if you take those, so just be aware. Just keep the losers small, and when you do get one that runs like this one right here, or this one, get all of it you can, and then it makes it worthwhile. But anyway, we bounce off the lows again here. This is starting to look like a range. There's actually two legs down, and that's a second entry long, but you made another new low there. There's not enough room back to the EMA to really scalp out there, so I just sit that one out. It's never a good idea to go long or short in the middle of a range. I mean, there's cases where it's worth trying, but I mean, here's a short here that I marked that you really got to go short in the middle of the range, but it's a little different. That is a second entry, and you do have a new low, so I mean, it's a possibility. We'll give it a green. And then we're still working lower here. Notice we just came off the high, so you're expecting prices to go to the lows, and you tried to go higher twice there. And so I like this one just as a lower high. Actually, the reason I really like that one is because I'd end up moving the range. I think you want to move that down at that point. It seems like it gets more touches there, and these were like failed breakouts. And that was another reason I wasn't as crazy about this one, because until it broke higher there, it looked like most of your lows were across here. And so, anyway, but here by this point, it feels like it's right off the upper side of the channel, and so I like it for that reason. And then there's no setup here, and it runs higher, close outside, and you actually get channel working down on the close outside. You get a break of it and a new low, and that's a second entry long when you're expecting a retest of this, and off it goes. It ends up making a double top up here and turning down. There is a lower high here, but that looks too congested. You can't enter that, and then it just kind of the bottom falls out again. Let me run down here. We bounce, but there's been no close outside on this channel, so I don't think you can go long there. Notice what happens here. You get a first entry. There's actually a second entry here, but it fails real quick and pushes higher, and it breaks higher and fails and turns down and gives you that real bearish bar. I like going short there because you got a long trap for sure. This may come all the way back to the lows, but almost guaranteed you'll get a quick, easy scalp, and you can see how it moved real fast, and it just reverses. And that's a second entry on the reverse. Notice the new high, and it breaks higher on the first entry, and then turns back lower, breaks lower, fails, and turns up. So when it went past this bar, that's a second entry long. I'd wait for this bar to close, and since it closes bullish, maybe you go long there. It is a second entry long, and you are looking for prices to go higher again. It turns out to be another really nice move up. And then we just find resistance. Notice you get a close outside, move to a new high, and you got a triple test there easily. You can clearly see that trend line's in place. I like going short there. And you probably only get a scalp out of it, but it ends up dropping. You get a pretty nice move down, but notice the break there, 2 legs back. We aren't quite back to the EMA, but it's still a second entry and a strong downtrend. So the other thing is those little 2-bar matching lows there, and that looks like 2 dojis. So it looks a little congested. So for that reason, I only made that one green. I'm not crazy about it. And you can see prices did come back again and give you a triple test, and that's a better place to enter. And then you can see it just, you don't get any resistance at all or support at all. It just runs straight down and actually breaks out through the double bottom there momentarily. And so now you got a failed break lower here, but you've also got a break and a couple of legs to a new low. So maybe your prices are also way away from the EMA there. So there's reasons to consider, okay, I'm going to try to ride this back up and maybe take that trade. It's not ideal. The signal bar is okay, but it's still in that micro down channel there. You can see the channel it's in. There's no break and new low or anything. And it actually gives you a higher low, but you can't go long right into the resistance there. Breaks out again, no setup there, no setup on any of these. They're just this one's tempting. And you would expect a retest to the lows, but if I remember right, there wasn't room. I think that's why I didn't mark that one. Now, there just is barely enough room there to get out. I think there is. Let me measure that again. I could have sworn there wasn't room to get out. Well, it looks like there is room. If there is, if you've got 6 ticks there, you probably should take that trade. So I'm going to go ahead and mark it. And then none of these signal bars qualify. And then you get another failed breakout that bounces off the midline of the range. and you just push through the midline of this channel, and prices will usually come back. Because you got this channel, it's probably going to fail and come back in the channel at least momentarily, even if it's going to go lower. And so maybe you enter there. Again, I marked it green. It's a nice signal bar. There's no break in new low of the channel though, so you're risking your timing being off, but it doesn't matter. Look at that thing go. It just takes off. Another really nice move. And then you get a close outside with 2 legs back. That's a second entry long. I like going long again there. And it fails and gives you a lower high, and really you could almost argue that that's a triple test across there, but it's a lower high regardless. And so I like just trying to ride that back to the EMA, and maybe it reverses, and sure enough it reverses and goes lower. Turns out to be a pretty good move down, and it goes off into the 2:30 hour, and no trades after 2:30. So there it is again. A lot of mixed trading today. There's a good many trades there all the same. Not necessarily the easiest day, but there were a couple of really nice moves and easy to spot setups there on the trend, and they had some really nice moves. So there were some opportunities, and some of them are a little more difficult than others, and you just got to be careful with the ones I marked green, because they can burn you. So there's a reason they're green and not red or blue, and that's because there's something about them that makes them, they probably meet our entry criteria, but there's something about them that just makes them borderline, or something that makes them a little more risky. So just keep that in mind. But anyway, there it is. Yeah, just another range day that closes higher. So there's not anything else much you can say about today. But I hope you had a good week this week. Hope you had a good trading day. Hope you learned something this week. The best way to learn this stuff, I say it all the time, people ignore it or just don't want to hear it or whatever, but the best way to learn it, it's not that hard to learn the strategy and to learn what we do. But what takes time is getting the experience trading live data that you need to be consistent at this. It's like this is a skill, and like in anything that is a skill, you get better through practice, study, and repetition. If you want to be a better, if you want to hit, if you're a baseball player and you want to hit the baseball better, how do you do that? You practice every day, hitting different pitchers and hitting different pitches until you get better at it. If you're a field goal kicker, how do you get better at it? You go out and practice kicking field goals from different angles and different distances, and you do that every day. If you want to be a better musician, how do you get better? You practice and play, and you try to play tougher music every day until you get better at it. And learning to trade is no different. It's a skill. You got to learn to read this chart. How do you get better at that? By practice, study, and repetition, and doing it every day. And I can't emphasize that enough. So you need to get as much screen time as you can every single day, so that you learn to see everything. Because it takes months and months and years to see it all. And so that's what happens. You'll get, the market tends to move in phases, and it'll have a quiet phase, and it'll have a high volatility phase, and it'll have a sideways phase, and then it'll have a big trend up phase or a big trend down phase. And just by the time you get used to it and you think you got it, it'll switch on you one day, and it throws you completely off guard, because you're not really reading the chart and doing what the price action says. You're going with what you've become accustomed to seeing every day through that phase, and you've honed in on it, and then you get fooled. So you have to practice, study. You need practice, study, and repetition. Practice, study, and repetition. So take every trade you see every day on the simulator, and don't worry if you're right or wrong. And then at the end of the day, study those trades. And that's how you'd be shocked at how much quicker and better you get by doing that. So anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back again to do it again Monday. I'm done for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.